Welcome to No Compromises, a peek into the mind of two old web devs who have seen some things. This is Joel.
And this is Aaron. Joel, let me set up a situation or a scenario, and I'm just going to kind of do it a little bit more vague. But we want to upgrade a project. And in that project, doesn't matter really the technology either. But in that project, there's maybe, I'm going to say 10 surfaces we need to upgrade to the most recent version of the technology, right?
Services.
Surfaces. So like places that things were used that we know
okay.
need to be upgraded. So
Okay. I thought you said surfaces, but I'm like, I don't understand. So I'm glad we clarified. Okay.
yeah, I mean this doesn't really even apply. It can apply to PHP. It can apply to Laravel, JavaScript. So it's language agnostic. So I don't want to focus on a specific thing.
I'm thinking
But
Laravel though. So
okay. So we have this these different areas that we need to upgrade, and one surface or area is maybe the way we did it 3 times ago. Another maybe 4 or 5 of them is like 2 versions old. One of them is
Okay.
1 version old. So there's like a mix of different ways of implementing whatever technology this is too. And the final result is of all these 10, which are in at least 3 different states, I need them at their 4th most updated state. Make sense?
Okay. And the fourth is like a new state that's not in the app yet.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I've lived in this project for my whole life, but okay.
Right.
All right.
So we have various different things, and we need to plan the upgrade. And so let's just say for this example, it's a measured thing. So I know where you're coming from. It's like, yeah, all of our projects have different ways of doing stuff. I get it, but let's focus on very specific things. It's like changing a language structure or changing it. If you want to go Laravel, maybe using a new facade or something like that. So it's very small, predictable, but they're done in 3 different ways.
Okay.
So there's 2 different ways that we might tackle this upgrade path when we actually start doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll outline those 2. I'm curious kind of which one you pick and why.
Pop quiz.
Yeah, the first one is let's take a look at all of the 10 that we have, make our to-do list, and then go through each one and identify how far behind it is and run the full upgrade path. And there, as we check off each bullet point, we're getting to our final 4th state on each one. And then the second way is to look at all of those and kind of group them into, are they 3 times old, 2 times old, or 1 time old? And bring the 3 to the 2, then bring all the 2s to the 1, and maybe bring all the 1s fully up. So there's 2 different ways to do it.
Okay.
Which way would you pick and why?
I'm going to ask a clarifying question.
Okay.
Is this something like either way we go, like we could finish it in a week, or is this like a big multi-month project?
I don't think that matters. The point is it has to be all done at once.
Oh, okay. So then I'm okay. I was having sort of a negative reaction to your second scenario, so I think by default I'm going to pick the first one because the second one seems like more work to me.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think it's more work?
I just like when I think in terms of mechanical steps, like the number of times I'm going to have to edit a file, the one that is 3 versions behind, I'm going to have to update 3 times. Whereas with the first approach, I would only update that file 1 time. Granted, it would potentially be a bigger change, but I don't know. It's like to me, it just in the abstract, it feels like less work to do just to make the leap to the end result if the end result is known.
Interesting. And so that's actually, you said it's more work or less work or whatever, but for you, maybe not for the person who's reviewing it. So
I never think of them.
Yeah, let me. You never think of me. I got it. So let me throw this out there a different way. I'll just expand this a little bit more so you get an idea what I was actually aiming at. So the first way, it sounds like the way that I want to go to, and it may work, and maybe like you said, it depends on the size of the project. But in general, that first way, we are doing different logical step on each file potentially, right? So the first file or the first area we open up, we have to think, what is the steps I need to do to bring this up to current? 1, 2, 3. So you have to remember that. Then you do that work. The second one, you look at it and you're like, oh, this is only 2 behind. Okay, cool. I don't need to remember okay, I can bring this up. And then the third one, you're like, how far is this behind? Oh, it's 3 behind again. Okay, so I have to go do that. And so that's perfectly fine, especially when you know like there's a perfectly fine valid end state.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, if we're looking at those other ways of doing it, so let's just say we bring all the threes to the second state and all the twos to the first state and et cetera, and move them together as that, you actually have a lot less context in your brain as you're a developer to kind of remember. Now, it feels a little gross because you know what the end state is, but if you are bringing something up from one state to the next, the changes are probably more mechanical. And so there's less of a thought and less of a review. Whereas if I'm reviewing your first code, I have to be like, oh, here he did a bunch of work. Here he did a little bit of work. I have to remember each pattern is going to be probably different depending on the surface. Whereas as I'm reviewing maybe the first one, as you're kind of stepping through it, like, oh, all the ones that are 3, he brought up to 2, which is still out of date. Fine. But then all the 2s, again, the review for me is pretty easy. It's just another pattern that moves all of them forward. And then there's another pattern that moves all of them forward. And so I can look at that as well. So that's
Right.
kind of the core of why I was bringing up those 2 different ways. There's 2 different ways of thinking about developing them. There's 2 different ways about communicating them. There's 2 different ways of taking milestones and stop patterns through those and having your reviews done as well.
So in the scenario you were just walking through, I'm submitting the PR when I moved all of the version 4 to the oldest ones to the second to oldest one. Like you're reviewing that, and then I'm doing the next step. I'm doing those as commits, and then you're reviewing it commit by commit. Like
I guess it doesn't matter.
Well,
it's about reviewable blocks and keeping those the same type of work versus all kinds of different work.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Like, but in my mind, the end result is the same, right? Like
Yep.
the final diff coming to the reviewer, if they just look at the diff as a whole and they don't break it down by commit, they're seeing essentially the same thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
But kind of like you said, if you weren't doing PRs, but you were doing commits, if you're a person who looks through the commits during part of your reviews, you would be able to see like, hey, this first commit is all one type of work. Second one is all third and a fourth, etc. Versus when you're looking at the full, you kind of have to be like, okay, I have to reset my brain and recognize the pattern on each one of these files.
Yeah, I think I think I'm tracking with you. I would say this, like, the way you described the first scenario isn't probably exactly how I do it. I wouldn't just like march through the 10 files in any order and like this one has to go 3 steps and that one has to go 2 steps. I probably would do like, all right, let's do all of the oldest ones. Boom, get them done. Because then, like, as a developer, again, I'm still not thinking of the reviewer. As a developer, it's the same mechanical thing: 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1. Then I do all the ones that are 1 step behind, right? And so from that perspective too, like I guess the reviewer could look at those commits, and it would be like a different slice of the context, but would still be kind of grouped the same way.
That's a method that I didn't bring up or think of, but there's really kind of like 3 ways of doing it then too. So I just wanted to bring it up too.
This is like a personality test for developers, like those Rorschach images. Like, what do you see here? Is it a tree or a nuclear bomb? And you're like, oh, I don't know. He picked that one, and that's. Anyways, what were you going to say?
Well, I think the point of bringing it up is because all different developers think differently as well. But then also the work you do, depending on how you deliver it, has different implications. So, if you're working with someone, it might actually be more difficult to look at all those big changes versus small little changes. Like a huge pattern from state 4 to 1 might be harder to review because there's so many different code changes versus from one to another. I don't know. It could not. It just depends on the case. But I just want to bring that up because there's many different ways that we can kind of approach these things. There's not one right answer, and it kind of depends.
Yeah, I like that. And just a PSA, like, don't let your app get like this. Like, then you never have to think about it, right?
Right. You shouldn't have to decide this. Okay. Now, don't skip. Don't hit the next track on the podcast player. Just stay. You're on Laravel 5 and you need to get the newest Laravel. Let's do it all at once.
Aaron, what did we just talk about? Actually, there might be a better way. Why don't you get in touch with us and we can help you make a plan to get to where you want to go, but in an orderly way. Head over to masteringlaravel.io and schedule a call.